Yo, what's going on, guys? This is SoulStriker. Welcome back to another topic video done on Minecraft Resource Chat Discord. And this topic was actually done by Mr. Zell. He's an administrator on the Discord chat, so if you guys want to come join the Discord, that link will be down in the description. This topic is basically how to start your own business. Is mainly geared toward Minecraft business, but he does have some very good points and just like overall business if you guys are looking forward to that when you grow up. Highly recommend you guys listen to all of what he says because he does have very good points. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Let's start from the beginning here, since we got to keep this like a story time. Before Pensley's inception, before I joined Minecraft and I took Minecraft over, before that even, how it originally started. So I don't know if a lot of you in here know this, but I used to own Hammer Kingdoms, and that was my little a little server dream. Went a little sour with me and some of the other owners, and I dropped that off. And yeah, we did just start. So I stopped owning that server, even though that server the entire time was like my dream. I realized that you know, after I left Hammer, I only had like $200 left. I would have had a lot more in profits, but another owner on Hammer taught every other donor how to charge back, so they screwed my PayPal over. I wasn't in a good spot, and I kind of, you know, I realized I needed money to do anything. So I was looking at stuff and I decided, you know, why not, you know, why don't you stop being the consumer and you start being the provider? So I went in, I thought it'd be a good idea to start, you know, being the person who provides the development rather than being the guy who buys the development. You know, servers make a lot of money, but I realized if I wanted to be stable, I needed to join the production side of the mall. So I was sitting there, you know, and I was talking with a couple of my friends who had left from Hammer, and you know, I was like, I don't really know anything about development, so how am I going to lead a development company or do anything like that? I don't know how to draw any art. I'm not a good builder. I have no skills except management. They were like, well, why don't you become a community manager? At the time on MCM, I only had like, you know, 5 or 6 rep. I wasn't really relevant on MC Market, but I decided, screw it, why not? $20 left in my PayPal after some short spending. I was going to start a company. 20 bucks. I took that money and I bought a little logo for a company that was supposed to be called Atlas, but my designer messed up and he made a logo for a company named Titan. So I was stuck with the name Titan, which was something I didn't prepare for. Titan Development, yep. Some people in here used to work there, some people used to compete for it. That was my OG company after Hammer. It was my way to make money, you know, before I started getting involved in anything super large. Some time goes by, now I own 2 companies, Titan Development, Cobra Creations. Started getting a little traction, making some cash, noticed some other people were popping up, trying to be like, you know, our little setups team. Our only competition was Jenkins Designs and Krypton. We were like, you know, Jenkins Designs are nice people, Krypton Designs are not nice people. You got 2 sides of the market. So we were like, all right, you know, we got to drop our prices lower than them. And that's how we got pretty big at first, was we offered lower prices for the same product. And everybody who was in there was broke, so we were fine with taking pretty much no money for what we were doing. But we built up over time. You know, you service enough clients, you make enough money. It's just how it worked. Ended up making $100, you know, every day almost in sales by dealing with 10, 20 clients at a time, where Krypton and Jenkins were charging regular or higher prices. You know, if you're buying from Krypton, a little higher for what they were offering. You know, it was like that. And that's how we found our niche market. Everybody told me Vice was the scary, evil businessman and that you shouldn't deal with Vice and all of these terrible things that I was hearing. You know, barely even relevant. I'm some tiny small guy who nobody knows about. Don't even know I exist. So I was like, how am I going to talk to this dude? Because I needed a loan. I needed a $200 loan. Everybody was telling me, you got to go to Vice. But I was sitting there and I was like, I got to get a $200 loan. I went to Vice. I asked him if he had a guy who could do thread designs or anything like that. He ended up offering to pay for just about everything and give me all of the resources I needed, all of that stuff, all by taking a small percentage of my company. At first it was a loan, but then he was like, I'll take a small percent. And I was like, wow, you know, of course I'm going to accept this deal. You're a tiny businessman, something like that pops up. Yeah, you're going to accept that. So I took that on. I was going to originally get some thread designs made, and then I got an offer from Vice after he had seen some of the work to own Minecraft, which apparently had been his company. And if you're anything on MCM, you knew what Minecraft was even before I took it over. So he was like, you can take over Minecraft, you know, lead and own the company and all of that, and I'll take some money off of it, And that'd be that. And I was like, you know, yeah, I'll accept that. The only caveat was Trevor had to come on it with me, because Trevor owns Sky Studios and MC Builds, who were going to converge the whole market into one big thing, which was kind of my plan anyway. And I think it was everybody's plan. If you were anybody on the market, you want to dominate the market. That's just how it worked. I just happened to get the opportunity of a lifetime, and I capitalized on it so hardcore. Gave me Minecraft, took that on, and, you know, went in and I worked my ass off every single day, talking to clients, doing all that jazz. Then I realized I could make more sales if I had other people talking to clients for me. That's when we started Sales Reps. So everything you see on MCM with the sales reps and whatnot, I don't want to take full credit for it, but I will say it definitely was not popularized until, you know, that concept into that. Hiring people, giving them a percentage of your sales to do your job for you. Because I used to be the sales rep for, you know, every company that I own. I'd be the one talking to clients and whatever, and that gets tiring. 18 hours of your day talking to people, only to come out with $120 to $200 at the end of the day. A little tiring. So I started hiring other people to do it. Then every other company started popping up out of nowhere, and then more people started hiring their own sales reps. Now sales reps have a bad name and all that jazz. All that stuff was semi my fault. Not a purposeful thing, just kind of, well, whoops, you know. Best way to measure success is if you know other people are doing what you're doing. So don't feel bad if you're getting copied. Definitely don't be angry about it. Take it as a compliment. So we started doing that. You know, that was huge. Eventually Minecraft got super big, ran through some problems along the way, but it got big enough to the point where I was like, you know what, let's try and escalate ourselves outside of just the MC community, you know, and go different places. So we were like, well, we can't really do that if our name is Minecraft. No real business is going to take us seriously. So we had to think of a new name or something to go under. And that's when me and Trevor thought of Pensley originally. You know, we're sitting there 4 o'clock in the morning trying to think of a name for this new company. I tell him, you know, let's name it after an animal or something waspy, cool, you know, bites you real hard. He said, you know, okay, let's pick our top animals. And he named 3 animals, but his favorite was the penguin. I named 3 of mine. My favorite was a grizzly. And I was like, how am I going to put together a penguin and a grizzly as a name? So we were like, you know what? Pensley, it works. And that's why Pensley's name is so weird. That's like the story, really, just the whole thing in a nutshell summary. In specifics, what's my opinion on Pensley? On Pens or on Pensley? Let me tell you about sales and how this affected that, right? So the original way that you're supposed to have your sales reps deal with people and how you dealt with clients was supposed to be human-like, and, you know, you really tell them that you can really get the project done, you DM them and whatnot. You're not posting these almost automated looking responses as if you're some kind of robot whose only goal is to reply to every thread. That's not a sales rep, that's a bot in my eyes. Even if it's a real person doing it, you might as well be a robot. That's what gave sales reps across the entire market a bad name. A couple of smaller end companies started doing it. Not gonna lie, 1 to 2 guys from Minecraft were doing that as well, so I gotta take some credit for it. But that's what started tainting the market over there. Now, you know, if you hear the word sales rep, you get all disgusted and gross and whoa, those are not good people. It's not that bad, I'll tell you that. That's sales reps at the end of the day are the best way that you're going to make sales. If you own a small time setups company, you know, and I consider small time anything that hasn't made at least $1,000 in sales. If you haven't made at least $1,000 in sales, you're small time. And you know, some other people consider small time a lot more than that. Like, they consider $10,000 in sales small time, $20,000 in sales small time. I put it at 1K because after you pass the 1K mark, that's when you get into your triple-digit zeros, and that's what's really relevant in terms of getting an investor. You know, with these sales companies, I'm telling you right now, best way that you're going to make sales, period, is by having more people on the ground. It's called grassrooting, right? If you own any company whatsoever, you provide a good or a service, right? When I'm speaking, I like to make up my own words, but I call business models, I say that they all fall under 2 different types of trees, 2 different branches. You have passive and you have active business. Passive business is your clientele comes to you. Normally, you can't really do this stably unless you're some massive company that's well known, or you've got a really, really good SEO guy, right? Somebody who can put you on the first page of Google 24/7. Then you've got active business. Active business is you coming to your clients consistently. You're bringing people to you. You're getting people to spend money on you. The passive model works, but the passive model is for really, really long term. Like, you're not going to make any money right now, and you're fine with that. Whereas the active model is what you need to do right then, right there at the start. So if you're small time, you know, you're not super big, not everybody knows you, you gotta be out there and you gotta be active. Let me tell you something. Don't get labeled. Do not get labeled. Getting labeled is the best way for people to not talk to you anymore. A ton of people on the market label me as a scammer, bad guy. They label me as some kind of evil dude because I work with Vice, who also is somehow some kind of evil dude and whatnot. The moment you get labeled, you gotta work twice as hard for anything. Some labels can be good, yes, but it's very easy for a label to turn sour. You gotta work hard and you gotta fly low. It's good to get a big name and big rep out there, but the moment you get onto that big platform, if you haven't prepared yourself to defend versus anything, if you know you've got, you know, something that'll follow you around, some bad rep, somebody you've pissed off and whatnot, it's gonna be bad. Don't throw yourself in that spotlight. Part of the problem with sales and active business is people just go thread to thread to thread to thread, saying that they can do everything, when really you get somebody in there who's like, well, did you even read my thread, or did you even blah, 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 blah. Treat every client like a real human being, okay? That's part of the success that we've had, is that we treat every single person like they are a person, because it's what they are. Each and every one of you in here is an individual. You're not just a $ walking around through Discord, you know? And especially not a $ just on the market. The entirety of the Minecraft company got labeled as an overpricing company because one sales rep thought that it'd be a good idea to start overpricing his sales. Everything that you have under you, you need to make sure that it's tight, hardcore tight. Take it from somebody who's made mistakes. Make sure your business is tight all the way around. How do I feel with pre-made? I think pre-mades are a good way to make sales, you know. I would not recommend staying a freelancer either, unless you have big rep. You know, freelancing is alright. Some people can make it work, you know. It's not that it's a bad thing, it's just that it's a lot easier when you have other people backing you. You have to think, right, if you're a freelancer, you're making all your own sales and you're doing all your own work. You're working full time. You got a company backing you, you got a group backing you, you got somebody else helping you out, somebody else bringing stuff to you. At a minimum, your job is easier. Maybe you don't care, maybe you're one of those people. All right, that's cool. But from a businessman standpoint, you're gonna do everything you can do to not only make it so your job's easier, but also so you make more money in the long run. If I know I can take on more sales and then, you know, make my reputation a lot higher by having a lot more people backing me, I'm gonna do it. I don't see any downside other than if one of them messes up. And you know what, if that's the case, start small and get bigger that way. A lot of you will laugh. I really, you know, when it comes down to Java and web development and whatnot, when I started all this stuff, I didn't know a thing about it. Don't tell anybody, it's my little secret. I didn't know Java, I didn't know any of that stuff. I talked to my devs and I told them, what are your selling points? If I'm a consumer, if I'm a client, and I come to you, what are some things that you'd say? And here's the thing you gotta understand, right? If there's any Java devs in this room, I like to make this joke often, especially at Pensley. You guys speak calculus. Clients, we speak English, right? A client's gonna come to you and ask you, can you make it so cows fly on your server by right-clicking a piece of paper, right? You're going to tell them all this calculus level stuff, like about how, well, this relies on a Y value and it's going to cost you for... No client wants to hear that. Let me tell you that right now. That's what made Pensley and Minecraft so great, is you turned calculus into English. You got to talk with your devs, or you got to talk to yourself if you're a freelance dev, and turn that stuff into English. You know, a dev says, well, it's going to rely on this, this, and that. Okay, how do you explain that to a guy who knows nothing about Java and still convince them to purchase your product? Sounding smart can be an asset. You know, knowing what you're talking about is 100% a necessity, but you have to translate it to somebody who doesn't get it at all. When you're doing something like that, it's hard. That's why I think, you know, sales reps probably have one of the hardest jobs on the market. In terms of doing that and how you do that, you really just have to understand what you're talking about. You know, if a Java dev tells you that this will take blah, 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 these amounts of resources, all this other jazz, you take out what's important for the client. All the client's going to care about is how much time is it going to take, how much money will it cost, and is it going to be professional? Obviously, the answer to the third question is always going to be yes. Answer to the first question, you just ask your Java dev straight up, how much will this take? Get the best description you can from the client. Money, how much is it going to cost? Take what your Java dev, whatever he charged, and that's that. Sales reps need people skills. However, I think 75% of people on MCM are even scared to cold talk to people IRL. Yeah, that's part of the problem as well. Being a sales rep is a big responsibility. It's people skill, You gotta know how to deal with people. You gotta know how to talk. You can't be afraid to talk in front of a room with 200 plus people in a Discord that you got thrown in 30 minutes before the meeting. You just gotta take these chances, you know? And you gotta talk to a lot of people every day. You gotta stay on top of it. It's a large job. What would you do when you have irritating customers? Oh boy, I love this question, Gast. All right, be real with you. How many of you in here have had an irritating or cancerous customer? Everybody should be saying me right now, because everybody's dealt with it. Even me, for some of you, I've been your irritating customer. Slywolf can vouch. I've come to him to buy like 30 thumbnails or something like that. Here's what you do when you're dealing with an irritating customer, right? Number one thing that you want to do is keep your cool. All right, that's hard for a lot of people in here. I'll tell you right now, you don't keep your cool, half the time your quote-unquote irritating customers are baiting you out. So they're waiting for you to say something wrong, get angry, show some emotion, so they have every excuse to either ask for a discount or threaten you or blackmail you, something. And if you don't believe me, deal with 200 to 300 people a day and you'll run into these trashy people. You will. Dealing with an irritating customer is completely reliant on your patience and your ability to speak English, or whatever language your client is speaking. Let me tell you something. Not everybody speaks English, even if they say they do. Not in the sense that, you know, can you actually speak English? I mean, can you understand what I'm saying and can you envision it in your head? That's a full encompassment of the language. Can you envision what I'm saying? If I tell you, or if I try to explain a graph model to you, can you actually see it in your head? That's part of where the communication lies. A lot of the reason why clients become irritating is, for one, they're either impatient and you got to convince them that patience is key. Two, they're just cancer cells. Those people, I'm sorry if you deal with them, but those people are unchangeable. Or number three, they don't understand you, or they don't understand, you know, whatever it is. So you just got to get them that understanding. And you really have to connect with your client in a sense. Build a trust level. Make it clear that it's about them and their project, not about money that they bring in, because you'll earn $1,000 a day bare minimum if you're really doing it right. It's not about what they do or what they have to offer, or what you can offer. Is it ever okay to give up a client? Yeah, give up on a client. Give up on some of your clients, for real. It shows realism, right? When I work at Pensley, when I'm at Pensley every day, we provide a ton of stuff. However, there's some stuff we just really can't do. We're not going to take the client's money and tell them that we can do it and put ourselves in a bad situation later. If you're not sure about something, if you're not 100% sure that you can take on a project, if you're not 100% sure that you can assure client satisfaction, don't take it on. Send the client away, because you know what? As a consumer, and me being a consumer before I became a service provider, biggest thing I look for is honesty when I'm purchasing from people, because I'm the kind of guy who always pays 100% up front. So I want to make sure my project can actually get done. If you tell me, you know what, go with somebody else, I don't think I can do it, I respect you. Definitely, as an individual. You get my vouch and I don't even have to buy from you. That's how that works. At least with me. It may not work on every single person, but I'm your most common variable. What happens if you take on a project you're unable to complete? How would you recommend dealing with a customer when they make a massive deal of it? This is huge. This is an unlucky happenstance, Kyle. Let me tell you something. You take on a project, right, and out of nowhere your parents come in, especially if you're one of these younger kids, or if you're a younger person, you know, you had a random exam for college or something like that. Anything can happen. All you have to do is communicate and be honest. I've seen this too often, especially from other competitor quote unquote setups companies, is, you know, they lie or they don't tell the truth or something like that. Just be honest with them. You have to understand that the client you're dealing with is a person. They get it. They've been through your situation. Worst case scenario, give them their money back, you know? At the end of the day, you didn't complete the job, right? I can understand if you worked really, really hard and you were so close, but close is not success. There is no reward for second place. You are not anything unless you are first place. That's truth. That's hardcore. That's real life. I'm still a nothing because I will always will be second place to the king himself, Vice, in some way, shape, or form. I'm always getting compared to somebody else. I'm always being compared, especially to him, because he taught me everything. He gave me everything I have. So naturally, that's how it is. I'm not going to be a success until I can show them more of that. It's the same thing goes for everybody else. So, you know, don't take the money, don't keep the money, whatever. I don't care what your morals are. Give the person back their rewards. Give them back whatever it was. Show them some truth, some honesty. And you know what? They might come back to you later. What do you do if you find a good client with a good budget, but they're foreign and you don't understand them? Is Google Translate going to live up to its service? No, it ain't. No, sorry for my French, but if you ain't speaking that language, sonny boy, they're going to respect you a lot more if you redirect them to somebody else who can. Don't take every dollar just because the dollar is in your face. Send the dollar to where it needs to go. I've redirected, personally, some of my clients to competitors just because I know the competitor does something slightly better than what I do. All you should care about is client satisfaction, because the client will respect you and the client will come back to you no matter what. I've sent people to Jenkins, I've sent people to Krypton, because way back when I was smaller, Jenkins and Krypton did some things better than me. What's better for money right now? Servers or setups? Both. They're both good for money. You just gotta know what you're doing with either one. Work hardcore. Hardcore. And whatever you're doing, don't take a day's rest unless you know that that day is being productive in some other way, shape, or form. As a consumer, how do you know that you can trust someone? Well, codes, let me tell you something, you can't. Here's a good law to keep for yourself, a good rule as a consumer, right? 100% of people have the opportunity to you over in some way, shape, or form. 100% of people. Let's say that the statistic on MCM, I asked my company this before, how many people do you think on MCM are scammers? Long time ago. And the average number that we got was 3 out of 4. They thought 3 out of 4 people on MCM were scammers, right? Say we went with that statistic, say it was accurate. If you know 3 out of 4 times you're getting scammed, take every precaution necessary. Don't pay friends and family, but make sure you pay up front. Screenshot and log everything. If you're in a voice call, record it. I used to do all these things. So anybody who did try to scam me, I was taking screenshots of conversations at all times. I was recording voice calls. I have a whole file on my computer for all this stuff. You've seen scam reports launched on me before. All I do when I reply is just post up a million screenshots about how this is fake. Do all of that. Just make sure that you are protecting yourself. Now, if I give them a refund and all, but they still make a massive deal of it. If they still make a massive deal of it, honestly, it's just the client. You're going to take a rep hit for it, but hey, you know, it's one guy. He's not going to kill your whole business unless he's a big guy. How do you make yourself look professional, Mr. Zell? What did we do better, like plugins? Well, at the time, guess, when I was smaller than you, I would tell people to go to you if I couldn't handle clients. Like, I knew we had too much stuff, so I'd send it to you because we were smaller, like just physically smaller, way back then, 3 or 4 months ago. How do you make yourself look professional? Three keys. For one, grammar. Make sure that you speak the language real well. For two, how you present yourself, your icon, how you got in contact with them, things like that. Make that look better. Don't come up to somebody with just the default Discord logo. Don't come up with the default MCM logo. Put a real picture on it. Make sure that it's a good, nice looking one, because you know, subconsciously or consciously, the first thing people look at and see will be your picture, whether or not you like it or somebody else likes it. If the client doesn't like it, they won't go with you. Third and final thing is the name that you have. Try to keep your name professional, unless it's something super well known. Like, let me tell you, Acalix, that's a good name. Gast, that's a good name. Milltown, Neek, these are good names. Slywolf, and then, no offense, legit_gaming1. Just throwing that out there, you know. That's how you lose some clientele. But yeah, that's I don't mean to offend him. I just throwing that out there, you know. The name is important. It's all about presentation. These are the first things your clientele looks at. Let me tell you something, right? Please treat your clientele as real people. Back when we were in Minecraft, we probably had 38 sales reps working at Minecraft who were working hardcore, right? Do yourself a favor and do quality control. This is something that I implemented probably halfway through Minecraft's lifespan under me, was quality control. Take a look over the entirety of your company, the entirety of your business. Anything that is not up to standard, even in the slightest way, shape, or form, let it go. Get rid of it. It will only damage you in the long run. This is something I learned from Vice. Taught me that. I was trying to keep somebody on who got in trouble because they were my friend and I wanted them to stay at the company, and then I realized, you know what, at the end of the day, you're not going to get anywhere if you let yourself be dragged down, especially if it's by something that you didn't do. So absolve yourself and clean yourself up, clean the company up, bring that quality upwards. If your client is a troll, what would you do? Block them and ban them from the Discord, not somebody I have to deal with. How can we practice our server setup skills, and how can we learn without getting a bad reputation for low quality setups? Get a friend who plays Mindman a ton. He plays on those big servers. He thinks he's an OG Mindman. Get one of those guys, right? And make him a server. Make that friend a server. and full time, you know, work on it, get all the bugs and kinks out. Once that looks really nice, we're talking amazing presentation, super good in the console, there's no errors, things like that, there's no bugs, there's no dupes and whatnot, then you might be ready to take on your first client. What would you do if a competitor badmouthed you? This happens all the time, dude. All the time. I don't know if any of you here actually look at Shoutbox, but every other day somebody is badmouthing Miss Dizelle, badmouthing a company owned by Miss Dizelle. Half the time they don't know what they're talking about, or they're blaming me for something that happened at the company, as if I have my eyes specifically over every single conversation at all times. Anything like that happens, ignore it. You know, if you're calling somebody out, or you have the nerve to call somebody out without having 100% proof behind it and an actual legitimate argument, then you make yourself look really bad. No joke, you look bad. I don't know if you know that. You're not cool because you called somebody else out in the shout box, you know? It makes you look terrible. And if you go trash threads, it also makes you look bad. People who do that, I keep a list of people who I like, you know, who I don't really particularly like and I don't want to deal with. Put them on that list just by seeing little things that they do around the market. I'll be looking through general discussion. I see somebody came onto a thread to trash it. Boom, person goes on the list. I won't deal with them. And I'm a regular consumer. Before I started owning Minecraft and Pensy, I was probably one of the biggest buyers on MCM. I spent the most money. I came in there. You could ask a Kelix. I went in, I was going to buy $200, $400 worth of builds for stuff that I didn't even need. I just liked spending money at the time. Do you have any idea why for like 3 weeks I get 0 setup work, but then after that we get like 10 setups in a week? Like the jobs just come to me. I'm not moving at all or doing anything. It's weird because I want to buff my sales, etc. You're dealing with a drought period. It happens. Depends on, you got to look at the time of the year and what's currently going on with the market. It's the same concept that you deal with servers, right? A server that has 300 people online is a lot easier to bring to 350 than a server that has 50 online and has to bring itself to 100. It's still a 50 player count change, and it's still going upwards by 50, but it's a lot easier to get bigger and do more when you have some traction and some more things backing you. If you told 300 people to bring one friend, I'm sure 50 of them would be able to bring a friend. If you told 50 people to bring a friend, I'm 100% sure not every single person would be able to bring one person to the server. Yeah, the talk's done, dude. Like, we've just been chatting.